Welcome to a major destination itinerary of the HMS Sandollar's Eagle's Eye port of call. Originally, it was just a brief repass, but evolution and a two-humped quadruped changed all that. Evolution? Not a bad word if used in proper context, such as the progression of ideas which develop a hypothesis into a cohesive theory. Such is the case with the articles submitted for your review in this section. Originally, they were intended to counteract certain pagan values, which had crept, or in some cases, stomped their way into the festival routines of Christianity, especially Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. However, as the old Arabian proverb goes, allowing a camel to stick his nose into your tent to warm it is a sure way to entertain the entire camel from nose to tail within the confines of your tent. We, however, are very happy that this camel stuck his nose into our tent of business and brought his friends with him. They were so persistent, taking up such a space in our tent of articles, that we feel compelled to create a video to introduce the camels that the wise men rode to meet their king. The star they followed was their interpretation of the Mazzaroth, the earth's history following the arrival of the Messiah as prophesied in the stars, a prophecy which many pretenders have tried to emulate from time immemorial. From Horus, the reincarnated Nimrod, virgin-born god of the Egyptians, who was eventually overpowered by Mithra, another virgin-born god of the ancient Persians. Then there was Krishna, yes, another virgin-born god. This one resided in India and succumbed to Dionysus, the virgin-born champion of the vineyard and fertility in the ancient Greek Empire. However, the one who came the closest, the one who has fooled more seekers of spiritual truth than perhaps all of the above, is the so-called Jesus of Nazareth, God of the Roman war machine. And today, the God most Americans mean when they say, "God bless America." And they say that, it seems, most often when they're declaring war. Most Americans believe that the renowned wise men, these magi of old, were looking for the one who is now known as Jesus or Yeshua to his messianic followers, because they are unfamiliar with the camels these magi rode. Those camels would have laughed in derision, or, well, I think spitting is what camels do to show their disdain. And perhaps when you've met these camels, you'll want to do the same. Who or what are these landlocked vehicles, camels, which the Magi rode to the town of Bethlehem at a season not even resembling our Christmas? Let the mysteries unfold. Our camels have names involving the new covenant feasts of Israel. The Magi hadn't seen what we now see. They just rode their camels, the feasts of Israel, into Bethlehem. You see, today, there are really two and sort of a half view concerning the feasts of Israel, for those who believe that the Messiah was to be an offspring of Abraham. There is the Jewish view, the Christian view, and the Messianic version. Not exactly Jewish, but not entirely Christian either. The articles advanced will contend that none of these camels, the traditions of these religions regarding the feast, will transport you through the dry desert of lack of valid information. If the camels of these three groups, who claim to be representatives of the Magi, don't suit you, we have a fourth set of camels, eager to share living water with any thirsty traveler. So let's look at the three supposed wise men groups of today and the camels they ride. Judaism is easily compartmentalized into Orthodox, conservative, and Reformed camps. Some keep the feast fanatically, concerning themselves with new moons, Sabbaths, and kosher foods. Some only keep the high holy days, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And some, well, they keep Bar Mitzvah. To outsiders, the only thing that would seem that they can agree on is whoever the Messiah is, he hasn't shown up yet. The Gentile Christian believers in the Christ, the Greek word for Messiah, which means the Anointed One, maintain that Jesus fulfilled all the requirements of the law, and that now they don't have to consider them anymore, which includes the keeping of the feasts. They've turned these Jewish camels out to pasture and left them to fend for themselves, much like what happened in the early days of expansion of the Arizona territory. The Army established a camel corps. Well, we're kind of deserty out here, and it did make sense for a time in the mid-1800s. But soon the railroads came along, and so they turned their camels out and left them to fend for themselves and moved on. In essence, that's what the Christians did with the feasts. We'll establish our own religious holidays, thank you. And they did. Christmas, Easter, and eventually Thanksgiving, with very little concern with how much identity they lost by abandoning the feasts. Yahweh's feasts were given to Israel. Remember, it's the name he gave his representative people. Most Christians and Messianics fail to acknowledge that the Jews make up only 1/12 of the tribes of Israel. I suspect that you'll be very surprised when you discover the role that the Gentiles are to play in the congregation known to Yahuwah as Israel. You'll begin to decipher these hidden truths when you learn how to navigate your life by way of the feast. It may not be easy keeping the new camels alive. Hey, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Interestingly enough, Arizona camels are proof of the pudding. They were so adept at survival, they challenged the livelihood of the imported critters the ranchers wanted to raise for income. The camels had a bounty put on their head, and one doesn't see many camels around in Arizona today, unless, of course, you go to the zoo. The Christian community's attitude has, in essence, bountied all of the Jewish feast camels, but some may invite you to attend what they may call the Messianic Zoo. They don't expect you to take the visit too seriously. Remember, camels are known for spitting, and the Messianics version would make a real Israelite camel throw up. You see, Messianics seem to accept that a Jewish version of the Christian Jesus is the Messiah. They tend to call him Yeshua. Virtually, to their Jewish friends, Yeshua is aka Jesus, not someone they want to snuggle up to, given the history between Christianity and the Jews. These Messianics want to keep the feast by honoring the traditions of Judaism as much as it is possible, since there is no temple for the sacrifices to be made. They contend that doing Judaism is what God wants and expects of his children. They can be very compelling, but the phrase legalism dangles over their heads, and eventually most Christians find it to be a foul smell. Which view should a would-be magi, a seeker of the Messiah, choose? We believe the answer is D, none of the above. Why? All three versions fail the memorial test. You see, these feasts are a memorial, but a memorial to what? There are 7 things which were given by Yahuwah, the Creator, the one who put the story in the stars in the first place, as a means for the human family he chose, which he called Israel, to navigate their destiny. These 7 things were to be a memorial or a statute for all generations. 6 of them concerned the feast. The 7th was his name. If we don't understand his name, we will never be able to memorialize the feast in such a way that we can gain from them all that Yahuwah intended. His name, Yahuwah, means the past and the future, ever present in the now. If religion erases Yahuwah's name, and therefore its meaning from their vocabulary, as Judaism, Christianity, and Messianics have done, then all that the other memorials become are tributes to something that happened in the past, trusting that revisionists haven't played games with whatever that was. We believe that our camels, the new covenant feast of Israel, will lead to waters that will make your lack of information desert become an oasis, not just of the past, but of the future possibilities, which provides insights on what to do now. Our belief is, and we will give ample evidence in the articles involved, that we are not to memorialize the feast or his name in pseudo-rituals of pomp and circumstance, or feigned respect by not verbalizing Yahweh's name, but rather what we are to memorialize is the significance of what they stand for. As we look at the feast from a new covenant perspective, which reveals the fullness of the Messiah, we become amazed at how flexible and how fluid life in Yahushua, the true Messiah, is. Yes, we are being conformed to his image, not jammed into a Jewish mold or left to morph into our own version of truth. Gee, how many denominations are there anyway? The feast revealed to us who Yahushua wants to be in us, so that together we can become a picture of the hope of glory, the mystery Paul refers to in Colossians 1:21 through 27. You'll not want to miss the introductory article, Hope of Glory. The articles in this section challenge the Christian community, along with their Messianic counterparts, to embrace these new covenant feasts as an opportunity to review their claims regarding Jesus and Yeshua. You'll notice that we spell and pronounce the name of the Messiah as Yahushua, for reasons outlined in several articles to differentiate between the identities represented by the two transliterations. We challenge you to make sure you have an answer more realistic to defend your choice of the character and the divinity of the Messiah on the day of reckoning, other than, my rabbi, priest, or pastor said. We also invite the Jewish community to consider that the Messiah truly did arrive, and that although they missed the event for reasons perhaps very understandable, reasons why Yahushua challenged the religion of his day, they did well to reject the false versions that Rome and her daughters, the Protestant community, have tried to jam down their throats since the 3rd century. But then, how many points will that gain you if what you opted for is a mere opiate? The challenge for Earthlings has always been seek the truth or support slanderous religious scenarios. Here's to truth, my friend. Here's to life. L'chaim.